Hey fresties, welcome back to Wattpad Wednesdays. If you've been here before, then you know that the topic I'm about to speak on, I have some pretty strong opinions about. So, self-advertising. I've been preaching about it since my first video, going on and on about how abhorrent I think it is and how I think it's annoying and etc, etc. But I seem to have confused some people because I believe that there is a right way to do self-advertising and a completely wrong way to do self-advertising, and I'm only opposed to the wrong way. So in this video, I'm giving you all the do's and do nots when it comes to self-advertising your Wattpad story. My first do not is the most obvious one and the one that I think people should just know because it's common sense, but apparently a lot of people do not seem to know it, and it's the one that I've talked about many times before, which is do not self-advertise on other people's content. This includes everything from their stories to their message board to even in their private messages. And this is not just limited to Wattpad. This can happen on any platform. If somebody makes a TikTok talking about their own Wattpad story and you comment saying, hey, please go check out mine, that's self-advertising on their content. Don't do that. Just because they're talking about Wattpad, it is not an open invitation for you to ask them and all the people who see their video to go look at your story instead of theirs. Now, of course, if this is a video asking for people to share their story, then that's different. Go ahead, share your story. But if somebody is just talking about their own work and their own passion, or just completely minding their own business by posting their own story or posting an update to their followers and you come in with, hey, please read my story, that is an issue. People don't like that. But in a similar vein, when it comes to what to do for self-advertising, do use social media. This includes everything. This includes everything from Twitter, TikTok, to Instagram. If you're making a video for TikTok or an Instagram reel, really lean into the trends that you see other writers and readers doing, and that's gonna catch people's eye. They're probably gonna be more likely to check out your story if they find your video funny. And my best tip for this would be to be very clear about what your story is about. Be clear about the genre, any tropes that it might include, because people are really looking to read things that they are interested in. If you say that your story is a romance that takes place in a small town, they might not be interested, but if you say that your story is an enemies to lovers romance that takes place in a small town, then they might have some interest because they know that there's a trope that they are familiar with and that they probably really like. Back to the do nots of self-advertising, do not guilt trip. Do not say like, oh, please read my story. If it doesn't get 4,000 reads this month, I think I'm gonna give it up. Sorry, but people don't really care about that. Even if that's what you're planning to do, and if it really doesn't reach 4,000 reads, you're going to give up, which don't base your writing passion on the amount of reads that you get. But if that's what you're going to do, that's not other people's business. Don't try to get reads from sympathy. Try to get reads from your talent and from people's genuine interest. Another instance of this that I think is less offensive, but I still wouldn't recommend doing, is telling people how long you've been at it. Telling them how long your story has been up, how long you've been working on it, and you're still just struggling to get reads. And this is less about guilt tripping and more about the fact that it might just leave a bad impression. Because frankly, if your story has been up for 2 years and it only has 100 reads, that's not really gonna incentivize people to click on it or go check it out because they figure, well, if it only has that much in 2 years, then it's probably not very good, which I'm not saying is accurate at all. As we all know, it's very difficult to get reads on Wattpad sometimes, even if you have a totally banger story that, would be successful if the right people found it. But don't use that as a way to try to get people to come read it. Just, again, talk about what is really alluring about the story and people will come if they want to read it. Back to what to do emphasize if your story is free and if your story is complete. You could even go ahead and emphasize if it has a very consistent update schedule. All three of these things are going to bring in readers because they know that the story is something that you take seriously or something that they can already just go ahead and binge read. And if it's free, people like free stuff. So definitely would recommend saying all of that if it applies to your story. Now, when you are talking about your story and you're talking about all those juicy parts of it that are gonna get people to go check it out, do not give too much away. Focus on the points that are really going to draw in readers, and by that I mostly mean the external plot of the story. Make your adverts short, sweet, and enticing, because if it's too long, people might not even watch it or read it all the way through. Or you might give too much away and lose their interest. Think of those movie trailers that basically give away the entire plot in the minute and 30 seconds that you watch it. It's ridiculous, and you probably aren't going to watch that movie because you feel like you've already seen the entire thing. So make sure that you are not doing that for your story. Also, 𝘧𝘧𝘪𝘭𝘮𝘪𝘯𝘨 is here. I don't know if you can see him.
Hey fresties.
Still with his friend. Back to the do's. Do boast about your story. This is basically the opposite of guilt tripping and saying all those sad things about how few reads you've gained. This is about telling everybody how freaking cool your story is and how much it has accomplished. Talk about the number of reads it has. Talk about any amazing comments that you've received from readers. Talk about if it's won any awards, whether that's something like the 𝘬𝘬𝘬𝘬𝘬 or something like community run awards within the Wattpad community. That's sort of repetitive, isn't it? All of this stuff is just more of a reason for people to go check out your story. They will probably trust the reviews of other readers, and if they see a high amount of reads or an impressive looking awards badge on your cover, that is all the more reason for them to click on it. My next two do nots sort of come as a package deal. So first off, I would say do not be afraid to talk about your story and ask people that you know in real life to read it. This is a great way to get feedback, and it's a great way to get loyal readers, because if you have friends who care about you, then they're probably going to care about this story that you have written, and they're going to want to read it and stay tuned for all the updates and show you the support that you deserve. But in that same vein, I would say do not feel pressured to do this if you are not ready to do it. You are in no way obligated to share this part of your life with anybody else in your life, and if you're not ready to share your writing with people that you know, then you're not ready to share it. It's just as simple as that. It took me like almost 3 years to tell the people in my life about my writing on Wattpad. So yeah, there's definitely no rush, but if you are ready, then it is a great way to get readers and feedback. But in that same vein, I will also say, if they don't want to read it, then they don't want to read it. Don't keep hounding them to read it. If they don't want to, they don't want to. If they want to, they will. Trust me. Back to the do's. This is a really fun one, probably my favorite. Do create fun stuff for your story that you can share with other people. By this, I mean playlists, Pinterest boards, aesthetics, all that good stuff. You can create a movie trailer or ask somebody else to do it with a request in like a graphics shop on Wattpad. You can create little pictures from quotes from your story. I'll put up examples of all of this stuff right here that I've done for my stories. It is so fun. It really gets you just into the vibe of your story, and it shows other people more of what your story is about. This is why I love including aesthetics at the start of every story. I know that some readers just aren't into it, but I love it. I think it is so fun and just a really great way to immerse yourself in the story. And I think that for a lot of readers and people that you're looking to advertise to, this works as well. If they get a certain feeling from an aesthetic that you've created that they want to feel through the writing, then they're probably going to go check out your story. Same goes with if you have a playlist that includes a whole bunch of their favorite songs, or maybe even songs that they've never heard and they're just super curious about it now. All of this stuff is going to get your story more attention, and it's just super fun to make. Another thing to do is to compare it to other popular pieces of media. This can be movies, TV shows, books, whatever. If fans of that media see that your book is similar, then they're probably going to want to check it out. For my young adult horror story that takes place in high school in like a small town, I was really inspired by Ash vs. Evil Dead, so I like to call it Ash vs. Evil Dead for teens. And I have never seen Stranger Things, but I know that because my story takes place in the 90s and Stranger Things takes place in the 80s, they have sort of a similar vintage vibe thing going on. I compare it to Stranger Things as well, even though I've never seen it, because I know that it's horror that takes place in, you know, decades ago. So chances are, if people are really big fans of either of these TV shows, they are going to want to check out my story just to see how it compares and if it gives them that same feeling that they like from their favorite TV shows. Alright, last but not least, we are going back to basics, sort of similar to how I opened this video, and this is, do recommend your story to people who are looking for reading requests. I feel like I said requests really weird there. Requests. Do recommend your story to people who are looking for reading requests, but do not forget that not everybody is looking for reading requests. You can not just hop up in anybody's private messages and send them a link to your story and expect them to be willing and wanting to read it. If people are really looking for reading requests, most of the time they will put that on their message board or in their bio. They will say, you know, please recommend me some books. I'm always looking for new books, that kind of a thing. If they don't have something in their bio that says, hey, I'm not looking for reading requests, do not automatically assume that that means that they are, because it doesn't mean that. The polite thing to do if you really want this specific person to check out your story is to ask them if they are. Ask them if they are accepting reading requests, and I feel like I'm saying reading requests, like, I don't know what's happening in my voice. The polite thing to do is to ask this person if they are taking reading requests, and if they are, great. If they aren't, then respect that decision. Don't hound them and ask them, okay, but when are you, or but why not, or can you make an exception? Just accept it. It's not that hard. And the great thing is, there are plenty of readers out there who are looking for stories, who are accepting reading requests, so go find those people. Don't keep chasing after these people who are too busy to read your story or just don't feel like it. Go find the readers that really want to read. And you know, I think that it goes without saying, so I didn't even write this down as a tip, but just be polite, be courteous when you're doing any and all of these tips. Don't be brash and rude and, you know, go in with an attitude where you're expecting everybody to read your story. You know, at the end of the day, you are pretty much asking them for a favor, so treat it as such. Be very polite, be very grateful, and readers will respect you a lot more for it. So, as always, I hope this video was super helpful. I hope I cleared up some of the misunderstanding that I think I caused when I talked in my previous videos about why I hate self-advertising and how much I hate it. When it's done the right way, I don't mind it at all. I think it's great, and I think that you should definitely do it. But when it is done in a disrespectful way, then it's just not cool. So thank you so much for watching. Please leave any requests that you have down below, and I hope that I will see you in the next one.